All right, folks, in this video, we're taking a deep dive on our cherry growth charts. Just like all of our growth charts, they are 5.5 inches wide, 6 feet long. They go up to 6'7", and they start about 9 inches off the ground. Some people ask, hey, well, why don't you go all the way to the floor? Well, the problem is you have baseboard trim in your house, at least just about every house I've ever been in or every house I framed. And obviously, if you went all the way to the floor, you'd have to screw it over the trim and then against the wall at the top, and they would be kind of weird. So they start 9 inches off the floor. When it comes to cherry, I always say if you've seen one cherry growth chart, you've kind of seen them all. The color tends to be very consistent. Not a lot of difference. I think it's probably a little highlighted by the fluorescent lights here in my shop, but when you see these out in the sunlight, there's really not a lot of difference. Some of these that are a little bit darker too, it's possible. In fact, I know for a fact, this one has been out at the farmer's market a couple times. One of the things that will change the color of cherry over time is UV light or sunlight. So when people typically think of cherry lumber, it's more of that sort of orangish brown color that it gets, a beautiful color. And I know for a fact, these other ones have never seen sunlight. They were made in the shop. They were immediately boxed up. They have never been outside. They have never seen direct sunlight. This one has, and I'm pretty sure this one has as well, which is why you're seeing the little bit of darker color. So that is something to keep in mind, although most windows and homes have UV light protection or filtering, so it is going to cut down on that. But over time, your cherry growth chart, even though the finish here too, the high quality lacquer finish we use also has a UV inhibitor, which is going to slow that down. But all of these will take on that darker, richer color that you're looking for, okay? Now, while there's not a lot of difference in the color on these, and the reason for that being, we don't use any sapwood on our cherry. Okay, the sapwood in cherry lumber is commonly seen as a defect. It's a lot like walnut. It's pretty much graded out, or it's sold as a separate lower grade. And we don't want someone to be surprised. Let's say they have cherry cabinets, cherry flooring, cherry what have you in their home. They order a cherry growth chart. We don't want to surprise them with some lower grade piece of cherry that's got a white sapwood speck or something or a streak on it that doesn't match. So we just don't sell any cherry growth charts with sapwood in them. The grain can vary. You're seeing flats on here, flats on. This one here, in fact, these two here are more quarter sawn. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it has to do with the orientation of the grain or the growth rings in relation to the face. You see how these lines go straight here, and then these are, a bit more wavy. This is flat sawn. In other words, the growth rings are parallel to the face of the board here, and these are perpendicular going up and down. It just has to do with the orientation of the board as I cut it on the sawmill. It doesn't change the quality. It doesn't change the structural integrity. It doesn't do anything. It just changes the look of it a little bit. And I've never had somebody complain one way or the other that they've gotten a quarter sawn or a flat sawn or whatever. So these are the beautiful cherry growth charts. All of them are engraved. It's never going to rub off, never going to flake off, unlike those cheap painted on ones you see on Etsy and some of those other places. They're always going to look great. High quality lacquer finish, the same finish we put on high-end tables. If you can have these personalized, takes about 7 to 10 days. If you order a plain one just like this, we always have them in stock. And as always, if you have any questions, just reach out to us, shoot me an email, drop me a text. And if you need to order, just go on our website, logboy.com.